Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar, Live Forex Market Review. Before we get into it, if you can read through the risk disclaimer. If you're on our YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat, so I can't answer your questions, but you're more than welcome to join us in the webinar. Just follow the link that I put in the chat. Any questions, if you're in the webinar, to the webinar chat or question and answer box. I've got both open. All right, just read through the risk disclaimer quickly. A few more people coming in. All right, I'm going to move along. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at ACY Securities. And Edwin, hi there. Hello to you. I'm a full-time trader. I've been trading the market now, well, the Forex market now for more than 15 years, mentoring clients more than 10. If you need to contact me, you can just send me an email to duncan.cooper@acy.com. You can connect with me through the week at our website, acy.com, Market News tab, on our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. And you can connect me personally as well on Twitter and LinkedIn if you wish. Just hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn. Those are my handles. As well, through the week, I'm providing analysis in our Telegram channel. If you want to get access to that or access to my chart layouts, templates, and indicators, I know a few people were asking last night, just contact Nathan Bray. I'll put his details in the chat momentarily. He'll sort you out. As well, if you are a client of ours, account holder at ACY Securities, then you have the opportunity, maybe, it's an invitation from Nathan, really, to the Inner Circle webinar. I don't have anything to do with who comes along. I just participate in it. So the Inner Circle webinar is where select few clients can come along and talk to me about their trading, and I'll answer their questions and discuss anything they want to discuss. That's the first Monday of each month at the moment. So contact Nathan if you'd like to get into that. And I look forward to seeing you there. All right, I'll just put Nathan's details in the chat. As well, if you've got any questions about accounts, openings, or anything like that, he's the guy to talk to as well. Don't talk to me about it. I just provide webinars and analysis. He's on the account opening side, support side. One of the people that you can talk to at the office. All right, so let's get quickly into the news coming out for the day or for the rest of the week. So we have one of the members of the FMC talking at 11. Sometimes they can talk about interest rates, their viewpoint about what should be going on over the next few months. That can sometimes stir the market up. But at 11:30, we have from the US, the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. We do have a UK item here, but that's kind of tentative, so I don't know when that's coming out. We have had early in the day the Aussie employment change, which was positive, but I was hoping that would push price back up to the upper limits of where we've been this week, but it hasn't been able to do that. So that's a bit frustrating, but better job figures, poorer price on the Aussie dollar, seemingly, at the moment, in general terms. All right, so that's what's on the calendar at the moment. We do have next week a New Zealand interest rate decision. So it's worth noting what's coming out next week, just as a general thing. We do have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out as well next week. All right, that's just some of the bigger topics coming out next week. All right, let's get to the charts now. Of course, we've been having this, I'm just going to use my price action charts. Of course, we've been having this big US dollar sell-off, but the question is how far can we sell off before we find some kind of base and a corrective move back the other way. So this is the dollar index, a weekly chart look, monthly. We're selling down from the 79% level at the moment. You know, are we going to come back to this double top? 103.82, I don't know. But of course, that will be a clear level of support if we're heading down that way. So I don't know whether we can get that deep, but we're obviously having a strong sell at the moment. That strong sell is not changing the monthly outlook, it's just corrective. The weekly outlook has moved to down at the moment to a lower bottom. If we're going to get a longer term move down, we are theoretically putting in a lower bottom. We could well come up to put in a lower top. Although we'll have to wait and see how things look. We could put in a lower bottom because that is 1 month down, and then simply go up and take out the top. So a quick look at the daily. Daily's overextended here. So 109.24, which was monthly support, we may get at least a corrective move back up to there, and then we'll have to rethink about what maybe is going on. So we are overstretched. Don't be surprised then to see pairs to the US dollar pull back. Of course, we can keep moving down. If the US dollar news keeps coming out positive for the US, maybe we're just going to keep moving down. And all those that have been long the US dollar at the moment are obviously short covering that position. And maybe the market's just has been way too long for too long. And we're going to have a much deeper correction. We'll just have to monitor the structure. S&P 500. This is the monthly range. I discussed this imbalance here the other day. And we're holding at 62 level of the range. We've almost filled the imbalance. Is this a topping out to move down? So you can monitor that. If that does move down, dollar index will probably start to move back up. Pairs to the US dollar will start to move down. So bear in mind the structure of those two instruments. So let's have a look. I'm not seeing anything I want to trade right this minute because I'm still working out whether or not we're in a topping out process or not. But some of the pairs that look like they want to move down, like the yen crosses, I'm not so certain that they're longer term are moving down. But the reason why I say that, let's go to the dollar yen first of all. This dollar yen's having a heavy sell off. This is the daily look. This is the weekly structure that I've already discussed this week. 62% retracement, weekly support. If this gets support here and starts to cover itself and starts to move back up, probably the yen pairs are going to follow the direction of this, unless we get a stronger sell-off to the pairs to the US dollar. But this has had a very strong sell-off to support. If this starts to get support and move up, I don't know if the yen pairs can keep their general downward bias that they've been showing. So just don't trade your other yen pairs in isolation of what's happening on the dollar yen at the moment. So we're having these 1, 2, 3. This is the fourth day where we're just kind of sitting around this weekly support level. So it's waiting for something to finally push it, one way or the other. And we're going to see on the day chart look here, we have this definite imbalance, which is clearly seen here on the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, it's a little bit larger. Actually goes all the way up to there. So we have this large imbalance, and what we're seeing on the 4 hour here is rather choppy. There's a possibility of a left shoulder head. We have had a dip down during the last 4 hours, and you can monitor this when the US news comes out. Maybe we'll dip down a little bit further. But we've almost had a 62% pullback here. Are we forming some kind of right shoulder at that last week's low, as it's trying to get support on the weekly level? So I would just like to see a nice clear 4 hour structure there that says we're in an uptrend. And maybe then, yes, we're getting support there to move up. Slavia asking me, Eurodollar and Pound look like they have started to move down. Well, I don't know yet. There's still an underlying buy. We'll have a look at those, obviously. There's still a bit of an underlying buy term still. I did notice that the pound dollar hit monthly resistance pretty much to the pip before I came on. So maybe it's starting to hold at monthly resistance. We'll have a look. So, this would be great if it just started to show a really clear 4 hour uptrend. If you want to be aggressive, of course, you could be looking to trade as a buyer. It's at last week's low, 62.79% level of maybe this range, but might be pushing the boat a bit there. It'll be a lot nicer. And when we get to the dollar CAD looks a lot nicer because it's moved up from support to a higher top, and now it's pulling back. Where this isn't, this isn't pulling back down from a higher top. It's just broken that minor low there. So it's not clear going here on the 4-hour chart at the moment. Of course, you could just be buying at support with a 100 pip stop, thinking, okay, this is going to hold. And you're either going to be right, you're going to be wrong. It is at a clear, good level of support. It's just a question of, I'd like to see a nice clear signal because we've had a very strong sell-off. I don't want to get caught in a further sell-off if we just keep getting US dollar positive news coming out. So I don't want to be, bottom picking too sharply at the moment because we just keep getting US dollar positive news, which keeps, of course, I should correct myself. We keep getting, well, we've had some US dollar positive news, but when I say positive news, what I mean is like we've had data coming out, CPI data and PPI data saying that inflation is maybe peaking. So what I don't want to see is more data coming out that's signaling, okay, yes, inflation is possibly peaked. Maybe the Fed's coming out and saying, we think now it's peaked and it's a downhill trajectory from here, and maybe they're going to lessen their interest rate. So that's been the tone that's been driving price down. All right. So, no more negative US dollar news, I should really be saying. Not the way. If we can see some positive news, of course, this is going to hold this up. All right. So hopefully I've corrected myself there. All right, let's get into having a look at the Aussie pairs. Now, this is very, very consolidatory here on the Aussie yen. This is why, even though structurally it's a fractionally lower bottom and we're potentially putting in another lower top here, we're really in the middle of that range. And if we come back down to 92.86 again and hold, we could well be forming, a base of support here for a longer term move up, especially if that dollar yen moves up. This could just be kits coming down here. It's just waiting for the next dollar yen move up, the next yen sell off, and then this will be heading northwards. And if we we had this move up from here, there's a 62% level here where we've been getting support once, twice, 3 times. So, are we heading this way? I know that is a lower top, but I'm on the fence at the moment. If that comes back down to support once more, I'm not in the pair, so I don't have any emotional attachment at the moment. If this comes back down to 92.86 and holds, starts a deal, gets support at 93, we could be getting support once more. And I would be favoring more of a move back up to a challenge of the resistance levels at the top. All right, so I could be quite easily proved wrong. That could be a lower top moving down. All these pairs are showing lower tops moving this way, just so this Aussie yen doesn't seem to have any legs to the downside too much. All right, so I'm just staying away from that. I don't really want to trade it anyway where it is right now today because it's in the middle of that range. Your perfect spot to be selling if you thought there was still a downward bias to this was higher up, was at this 79% level. Right now where it is, it's right in the middle of the range. Selling at the 79, you could be at break even now, and if it doesn't want to move down, you've got no risk on it. Whereas if you're engaging right now, you've got risk on it and you're in the middle of the range. All right, so your opportunity to sell, the best opportunity to sell was up here. That's already gone. So yes, we may see a continuation pattern down through here, but you should have already been on board by now. All right, so if you're on board, great. If you're not, really not in the best position. You know, you have to pick your battle. Your battle was up here to be a seller here, stop above the high. So now you're managing your trade to break even and you're waiting to see if you can break support to the target, okay? If we start to get support once more down at 92.86, because that's the low where we had intervention. That's why I think the market's getting support here. That was the intervention low over here. You could well be looking for an opportunity to be a buyer down at the 92.86 to the 9300 level, okay, as we head into next week. All right, to the Aussie. Now, I was hoping, I did a recording this morning for the Aussie. Let me just tidy this off. I was hoping we'd get a rally after the job figures, but we haven't had that. Not as high as I wanted anyway, but on the day chart, there's the monthly range. So we always had this corrective move back up. And that's nice 62% level here. Seemingly failing now at the moment. So I'm thinking we're topping out here. I was hoping still might give it to me, but I don't know if it's going to give it to me because let's go back to my daily. We've got a resistance level here, 67.47, that we're tagging today. So we've been above 67.47 up to the 62 level. There's a bit of an imbalance in here that we've almost filled. And, you know, this could be the next lower top on the monthly chart for me. So we're just breaking down on the 4-hour here a bit at the moment. Coming down into day support at 66.99 today already. And we had a bounce up. So it's bounced off day support, back up to day resistance at 67.47. Now, I'm just going to draw a fib from the highest point to the lowest point because we're a bit consolidatory here. I had it from this low here before, but that's got broken. And I'm just monitoring to see if, you know, maybe the US news that comes out later today gives us a run back up the range. See all these 15-minute tops? We're very choppy and consolidatory. There's lots of sellers up here. So I'd like to be selling where the sellers are, which would be, there's a 79% level, 67.75 up to the figure. That would be great if we could get another run up where all the sellers are. Now, if you're already short, then of course you don't want to be seeing that, but I haven't gotten short yet. So just waiting to see if we can get stab up there. We got a fraction short the other day at 68. Still very range bound. We could still get back up into this area. So I'm just monitoring over the next 2 days. If we don't get up to there, what we might see over the next few trading days is that we have hit 67 today and day support. We might start to break below 67, and then through next week, we might be looking at 67 to be resistance, whereas 68 quite clearly is at the moment. So I don't know if it's quite done in terms of getting up to there. I'm just watching up there. If it doesn't get there, of course, I'll have to start to restructure my thought process. But just get back to that daily. It does look very much like we're potentially putting a top here. So it would be great to, you know, get short at a high point. We'll see if I'm being too wishful thinking up at that high level. We'll see. I may even focus on the 62% retracement level from the monthly range, which is at 67.67. Again, we haven't been able to get up to that level today, but I'm just looking for a higher level to start to engage to the downside if I can. Now the Euro Yen, we've got monthly support here, day support here, another day support here. And so while structurally on the day chart, we've got lower top, lower bottom, and we've kind of held here at this level. We got a lot of support, yet when we were down beneath those levels yesterday, see how we came all the way back up. I'm not convinced that this is wanting to move down anymore. Even though structure on the daily, it's still showing a downtrend, because the higher time frame, the weekly, is most clearly up. Is this, we had this big leg up. We've had this move down. Is this actually a bottom here for another leg up? All right. Now this weekly top here, of course, for that to happen, we're going to have to break above that level, but we're seemingly getting a lot of support from this monthly top over here. So on the 4 hour, it is actually, well, it was actually structurally up. Now it's a bit questionable because we've just broken this 4 hour higher bottom that we're forming. So Harash is saying head and shoulders pattern forming. What time frame? Let's wait, the earlier one. Wow, there was two, I think the weekly one. I don't know if there's a head and shoulder pattern forming there at the moment. If I was looking for a head and shoulder pattern on the weekly, I would need to be coming up from a lower point. So I don't think so. We could just hold at this resistance level, but it wouldn't be a head and shoulder pattern. You'd just be resistance failure. So now there's a day level support there that got broken. We do have this resistance here, and yes, we're getting held just there at the moment, but hopefully you can see that we're just bound by resistance and support here. And the weekly trend is up and the monthly trend is up. So it's sitting in the middle of that range at the moment, which isn't ideal. So at the moment, for me personally, forgetting this bottom here, if I draw a fib from that bottom up to that higher top, you know, I pull back to 62 to 79 within all this support from 144.26 to 144.03 down to 143.68. That daily low there. That daily low there is the intervention low, like the one I was just talking about on the Aussie yen. So the Aussie yen, the Euro yen, they're both, whilst they've traded below the intervention low, they're scrambling back above. All right, so you know, another dip down to that low, and if you start to see it popping back above this, you know, down here, 79% level, you know, we could well see a movement. I don't know if we can get that deep, and then a movement that way. All right, so I'm starting to favor that maybe we're getting some support on some of these yen crosses, especially if the dollar yen goes up. I know some of you are a bit more bearish on these yen crosses, but there's the intervention low, and we can't seem to spend too much time below it. Last time we got down there, it didn't spend hardly any time, so I don't know. So I'm just sitting on my hands waiting to see if we can get down here, and then I'll look at what price is doing down there. Euro dollar. Now the day chart, it's going to go to the monthly chart first of all. Yeah, just so everybody knows, I know I've got lots of lines here, but we've got a lower top to a lower bottom. This is corrective up at the moment. The weekly is up. Okay, it's taken out two old weekly tops at the moment, and we are above the last one. There's a very strong resistance area here that we're above. We've got monthly resistance at 103.40, weekly resistance at 103.49, that weekly top there at 103.68. We are managing to hold above at the moment. So I'm not seeing any, you know, I'd love to have a reason to short it because we're so overextended. And I'm just pausing. Tony, you you were saying to me, what you're saying, it's a setup of the kind that you like, failing at major resistance weekly, failing at M3 pivot and 25 pip stop loss. On the euro yen, just look at your chat, Tony. All right, so I'm not sure what setup you're talking about. If you want to re-put it in there, I'll have a look at it. I don't know whether you were talking about the euro yen. I'm just going to carry on with my euro dollar. So back to the euro dollar. So yes, we're above weekly resistance here, and we're up to daily resistance here. Okay, I've got another message coming in now. All right, the pound yen. All right, I haven't got to the pound yen yet, so we'll get there shortly. Now, it'll be interesting to see by the end of the week if this weekly candle is still positive. We had a very large week last week. You know, do we kind of have a signal week this week to maybe say, okay, we've come to the end of this first very strong impulsive move up, but we are holding above resistance at the moment. That higher level here is a daily level of resistance. So since we've had that first impulsive candle, we haven't, you know, some of us might be thinking up here, it's getting ready to sell. However, we haven't had a day down since this impulsive candle. We had an inside day. I thought we were stalling here at resistance, and then we're continuing up. All right, not having a day down. So, you know, don't get. I do think we're at very high levels. Just pausing because I've got some more chat coming in. Slav, you're asking me, you missed the up and coming news items that could affect the pairs. Okay. All right, let me just finish this. I'll quickly flick to that for you. So the point I want to make on the euro dollar at the moment is we are at very high levels, but we're not having any days down. So you do run the risk at the moment of getting too cute too soon. All right, look for, you know, whatever your setup is. If you're thinking we're overextended here, see a clear sign. At the moment, I'm not seeing a clear sign. It's so overextended at the moment. It's not at a level I want to be a buyer at. But what I'm noticing is, you know, we are wanting to hold above last week's high at the moment as well. And we are holding above the weekly level of resistance, 103.68. All right. It's getting a little bit choppy in here. We have a lower top. We have a further higher bottom. You know, the first sign of a failure here would be, if we're looking for a failure, would be just a clear move back below 103.40. Then to see the area, you know, do we come up to the highest level of resistance here at 103.68? That holds, price fails, you see a set of a trade down from that level. At the moment, it's getting bid up from support. All right. For me, it's too high up to be a buyer, but it's definitely getting bid up on this 4-hour chart from support. Any dip below 103.68 is getting bid back up. All right. Now, what we also might see, because I'm seeing it already, and I'm just waiting for a bit more information, but because we still have some more news coming out from the US today. Might come out, you know, US dollar negative, but this might push this up again, or we might come out US dollar positive and we start to move below these levels. What we are starting to see intraday is that 10400, late in New York, we're starting to cap it. And in the London session here, we're getting capped at 10400. So over the coming couple of trading days, if we keep seeing price getting bid back up and it keeps hitting 104 and then fails, you might start to see the opportunity to get a tight entry at 104 to short it. Okay. So just, you know, we had a very massive rally up this way. this rally was shorter. Okay. So here we come up from support. So that rally point, come back down to support here, that rally point shorter. You know, we come back down to support. We've got another almost kind of double top here. So 10400 is becoming some form of selling level at the moment. So if you can see a very tight entry, that might, you know, work very nicely. All right. But there is an underlying bid from the support levels here. So that's why I say if you can get a very tight entry, you can get the risk out real quick. Then when price heads back down to retest support, again, that support might break and you'll have a smile on your face. But I know it needs to be a tight entry that you can get away with, where you're not risking too many pips. Other than that, I'm just sitting here waiting to see if these levels of support start to break. It's way too high up for me here at the moment to think, okay, I'm going to take a trade and trying to target 100 pips north, because I think we might be out in a topping out phase in the short term here. I don't know long term. None of us knows at the moment how much more of this US dollar surf is going to occur. So whether or not we're going to get a short term pullback before more upward move, we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, it's just too high up to be a buyer. So looking for a very tight entry at 10400 would be great to sell, or a break below support and a retest and failure of support. All right, Tony, I think all your chat was about the pound yen. So yes, pound yen's back up to a nice level. Weekly resistance over here at 166.33. What were you saying? 166.33, failing M3, pivot, trendline break, MACD cross on 15. I go to my other charts. So that's the level, 166.33. Just want to go through the time frames. Yeah, we definitely, you know, of course, we're definitely getting a failure here. There's your weekly resistance. Now, this is, you know, that entry there is a little bit down the track for me from up here. You're going to have to risk the best part of 45 pips. If you like to look at that entry, I mean, we're definitely failing at weekly resistance and a pivot. MACD is crossing down. I would like, you know, to be, you know, if I was looking to sell this, I draw a fib across that little range it's drawn. You know, can it come up to the 62 level and give you a better price to enter? All right, Tony, you're telling me you took it earlier. So yeah, I did see that earlier in the day, all these tops up here. And of course, we've had another failure up there. So, you know, getting short up there, higher up would be great. This might come up, and for those that aren't in, if you'd like to look at that level, this might come up to the 62% level. You know, so it might do something like come up, put in a little lower top on the 50-minute chart for a continued move down. So you might be able to sell a little rally on the 15-minute chart to get yourself in. At the moment, you know, you're having to risk the best part of almost 50 pips now, even more now as I'm talking. All right, so if you've already gotten in, it's great. If you haven't had the opportunity, you know, you can keep drawing a fib down. Does it come up to put in a lower top at the 62? So you're looking to trade at 62, stop above the high. And that's pretty much the same as getting in on a trend line break. All right, so you can all monitor that if you like. We do have day support here though at 165.71. You can see that it's been stuck between over the last, I would say, 12 hours now. Weekly resistance and daily support. All right. So by the time it hits day support, you must have the risk out. If it hits day support before it rallies, I wouldn't sell a rally, because then support's coming in. So you need this to rally and then drop. Don't let it drop and then sell a rally because it's hit support. Once it hits support, that's where you need to be getting the risk out of the trade, not looking to take one if it bounces off it. All right, so you can monitor that. So, I mean, there was a valid trigger there. So if you did take it, all credit to you. What I don't like on the daily like I've been saying with all these other yen pairs, is whilst the day chart structure is down, the weekly structure's up. So whilst over the last 2 weeks we've been seeing this downtrend structure all kind of forming, the weekly structure is still in play there. And in my mind, I don't know if these yen pairs are actually putting in a higher bottom over the course of the next couple of weeks to move up. So you can bear that in mind. Of course, we could be putting in a lower top here. I don't think we've had a bit short of the 62. I mean, we could be seeing a continuation move that way. All right, but don't be not mindful of what the weekly trend is. And of course, on the, as I was just showing you there on the 15-minute chart, stuck between weekly resistance and day supports. All right. All right, pound dollar. Now, I've got this major range here that I'm looking at. We're at the 79% area or close to. I think that is at 1866, 118.66. I think that level is. It's a bit hidden by my lines. I'm pretty sure it's 118.66. In fact, let me go to a lower time frame. I don't think it's 118.66. Yeah, yes, it is. Sorry, 118.66. If I'm going to go to my other charts with no MACD on it, sorry. Here we go. 118.66 is the 79% level, so we're fractionally above that level at the moment. I mean, of this range that I'm looking at, have we come all the way back up to top out to move all the way back down? It's going to be a while for us to work that out or not. But what I'm noticing, 119.58. Go to your monthly charts. That's a monthly low here that we moved below this year. 119.58. We moved back up to it this week. That's that low just there on the weekly. All right, we've also got a weekly. I haven't got this line in because I've got too many lines coming in, but that's at 1933. Weekly resistance at 1933 there, 119.33. Monthly resistance at 119.58. So we're obviously having some resistance against those levels there at the moment. And 119 is becoming a little bit of a headache for the pair daily. Now the day structure is still up, like my commentary on the euro dollar. Just checking my chat. Slaven, I know you wanted the news items. I'll get to the news items later. I won't forget about you. Same commentary as I said on the euro dollar. Yes, we're overextended, but we haven't had a day down since that very impulsive day here. All right. And one day down doesn't mean to say that we've topped, but it might be the start of a corrective move back down. So at the moment, we are getting a headache hitting 119.58 today. I was watching that earlier before I came on. When we were hitting there, this 4-hour structure was up. It's still up. And I was contemplating, should I be selling here at 119.58? I just thought, I think I might be just pushing the envelope a bit. The day trend is up in the 4-hour, even though it was before we moved above that top, putting in a lower top. We had these high bottoms. We had a lower top, and I was thinking lower top, higher bottom, and then we pushed up above the top. So then we have a higher bottom, higher top. So I was thinking, well, the trend's still not breaking down, so I'm not going to be selling at that level. But of course, 1958 at today, so we dropped down to the 15. So this is, we went through support and resistance yesterday, if you were with me. There's monthly resistance. So the other day, folks broke it. All right. Today, we pretty much, I think we were a fraction short by 1 pip. Traded up to that level. And then whilst I've been doing the webinar, we've had a heavy sell-off. Now, we could come back up close to that area. But I think over the coming days, if we are starting to top out here, that daily top is at 119.01. So the 11900 level. Do we start to see, because we keep going above 119 and below, above, below. The 4 hour here structure is still up. You can be drawing a fib now from the higher bottom to the top. And whilst this looks aggressively to the downside, we're at 62% level. Hasn't broken the structure yet. Now, if we can break the structure, if this structure breaks, maybe we are topping out. At the moment, the 4 hour is still holding its structure. Yes, it's had a very sharp sell from that resistance. So it's just telling you that, yes, the sellers are clearly watching up there. But, we may still find support between the 79 and the 62. And for those of you that may be bullish, just want to follow the daily trend, which is still up, we're in the pullback zone for a continuation pattern, maybe back up. All right, so you have to work out what side of the market you're on. I just think we're overextended and we're due a correction. However, day trend is up, the 4 hour trend structure is still up. If I see the 4 hour trend structure clear turn to down, I might look for an opportunity to trade down just because we're so high up. But that structure there is still up. All right. It actually favors right now, it favors looking to be a buyer to trade back up in line with the trend, because you're at the 62 to 79% area of the 4 hour structure there. All right. Now, if we were to break the 4 hour low at 118.32, then, okay, I would change my mind. If you were wise enough to understand that we were at monthly resistance up here, you could have been selling. Yes, it would have been a very aggressive sell. You'd be at break even now, and then you'd be hoping that this is going to move below 4 hour support. So to the 4 hour chart. We're going to break 4 hour support, and then we're going to see a rally. And ideally, a rally back up to 119 will be great. So that's what I'm going to be watching for over the next 24, 48 hours of trading. Do we start to, break down like so? Potentially, we are in the levels of where a top could come in from the standpoint of, back to my day chart, this range, we're at 79% area of that range. Are we topping out here for a move down? All right, and we don't have to be engaging as well. We can wait for clear price action to prove it. Even on the day chart, we could wait for a lower top to form in the day chart. That would mean that you're not engaging so high up. So you don't have to pick the top. We just need to start to understand that maybe we're in the area where a top can come in, and then look for a clear signal that a top's come in. And then, you look to get in slightly lower down. All right. So I'm just going to watch for that 4 hour breakdown. There's no way I'm going to be a buyer up here at such lofty heights, especially when I'm at a significant 79% retracement level. And that's just kind of suicide to be a buyer, I think. So I just have to pick my battles. My battle isn't to be a buyer at such high heights. And I'm not just going to short it for shorting's sake, but I will look for a breakdown and then a rally back up to the 79. Sorry, back up to the 119 level. All right, we might see a little 79% rally on a 4 hour structure. So I watch for that. All right, I've got lots of chat coming in. Slightly saying confidence with M2 level of support. Back to that 15-minute. Yeah, you've got, if you're looking to the upside, as I said, I don't know if it's the best side to be on the buy side at the moment, but there's a pivot point there. Yes, M2 with the 79% level there. If you start to see price holding here and you see your setup, you could trade up if you want to. And Slavia asking pound is currently finding support at 118.66. Yeah, intraday down here, we've already found support intraday, so it's back to the same level. So price has maybe just pulled back to the low of the Asian session. Harash is going to read what you read, typed to me. All right, Harash, you're asking me about the links for the webinars. In my last email to you, I told you that the links don't change. The ones that I gave you are the same every week. So there's no need to keep asking me for the links. Just use the same links I gave you last time. All right. The links aren't going to change. So just keep using the same links and you'll find the recordings of the week. All right. And you don't have to apologize for inconvenience. I'm not trying to sound rude. I told you last week in an email, and I'm just really conveying the same message that we're happy for you to have the recordings, but the links that we've given you are the same links for this week. So if you just use the same links, you don't have to keep requesting because it's just the same links. Okay. All right, let's move along. All right, New Zealand yen. Now, weekly resistance up here, 86.21. Move to a lower point, failing at resistance. So we're putting in a lower top. Like all these yen pairs, they're all looking the same kind of structure. If you wanted to engage on this, I did a video today in the Telegram. You know, looking to engage on this pair, you need to be getting in at that resistance level or as close to as you can. Yesterday was an ideal opportune time. If price was to come back up, let's just move to the 4-hour chart. Draw a smaller fib, look to sell a rally. And this is the area I was looking at earlier in the day. I put this in the Telegram. Hasn't really changed. I don't think we haven't. I think we just broke the lower yesterday, or the level I was using. So I've just readjusted my fib to the lowest point. You know, up here is the most desirable place to be trading this pair, where all these 15-minute tops are. And price might not come back to that level, but the most opportune time to get yourself set for the next move down, if it's going to give a move down there on the New Zealand yen, was yesterday, up in this zone. So I've got it highlighted, 79% level there, 86.08 up to 86.21. If price can get back up to there and hold at these 15-minute tops, that's your most opportune level to look for a trade. In line with what we're seeing on the day chart. You know, we're already starting, you know, maybe we can't get back up to level. Maybe we've already failed up here for that next leg down. So your opportune time was up here. So maybe it can give it to you again and just come up to the high levels of yesterday again today when the news comes out later in the day. If it can't, you've really missed the boat. That was your most opportune time. All right. And there's a lot of support coming in through this area here. All right. $8,400. So even if we do drop down, as I was saying on the other yen pairs, I'm not sure whether we've got too much more downside to go. You know, you have to clearly watch 8,400 because we moved above it there, came down. I think that was the intervention spike. Then we come down to the same level here. We might not move through that level. Maybe we're creating a base of support here to move higher longer term. So we're stuck at the moment between day supports and weekly resistance. All right. So whilst the structure might be, you might be going, okay, it's a lower bottom, lower top to a further lower bottom. There's actually a range of support and resistance there that we're trading in. So if you're already short and we do manage to move down, watch support at 8,400 quite clearly. All right. All right, so that's that. So you might, as I said, look for the higher level option. If price can spike up, might not give it. Doesn't look like it wants to get up there at the moment today. New Zealand dollar. All right, that's moving down too. So that's moving down, and the New Zealand yen's moving down. So opportunities to maybe get up to the high level may be drastically reduced, but we'll wait and see. Now let's go to the day chart, the New Zealand dollar. Now I'm a little bit annoyed because I was trying to sell this pair yesterday up at 62, and I missed by 7 pips. So that was annoying. Now this is a monthly top. That's the monthly low. That's the range that we're moving back up. And we're in the 62 to 79% window of the fib range. So it's the obvious area where the market could top out at. All right, so just be aware of within the fib range there where we're at. Now, more importantly, is the level of resistance that we're at. On the monthly charts, let's take that line off at the moment, these 2 lines off. We've rallied all the way back up to monthly resistance. Did support and resistance last night with you guys and girls, and that is a clear level of broken monthly support. Would it be resistance on a retest? And I said to you that these key higher time frame levels can be traded at time and time again, and they just work time and time again. Like I showed you just before on the pound dollar, where we've actually traded down from monthly resistance today. So this is a level I'm watching, 62.04. We've got lower tops and bottoms on the monthly at the moment. Lower top here to a lower bottom. We're in the 62 to 79% area of the rally. All right. And we haven't actually traded to 62.04. We've only traded to 62.02. Now the day trend obviously is still up. I mean, we're having a day down at the moment. We could still then have a day up tomorrow. We could still visit this level. So I am watching this level very closely. I tried to get short yesterday, just missed. We do have a daily level resistance here that the market's been operating around today. So maybe we've already failed, and I've missed the highest opportunity of getting in, which is annoying. Same on the Aussie dollar. We may, both the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar are highly correlated in general terms. Maybe they both topped out. So the Aussie's topping out at the 62% retracement level as its level. This one is a little bit above the 62 level, but it's topping out at monthly resistance, be it a couple of pips short. But, this day trend is still up. Maybe we're just having 1 or 2 days down before we come up for another test. All right, but you can see today that day chart high, 61.61. See how we just traded up to it today on the candle. You'll see that on the 4-hour chart there. See how we've been below, we just tagged it, became resistance. So I don't know whether the news can come out nice and negative for the US tonight so that we can get higher up. Now the 4-hour structure theoretically, it's a lower top, but the last proper bottom was there. So we pulled to the 62 at the moment. Now, we do have an interest rate decision coming out next week for the New Zealand. So we may still play around with the 62 area. I think the interest rate decision is next Tuesday. So just watch the 62 level over the next few trading days into the early part of next week. Now, if we start to see a breakdown of the structure on the 4-hour chart to clearly down, then look to sell a rally. So if we, break down below that low, it would be great if we had a rally back up. We have a 79% retracement into this area and a failure. It'd be great if it came all the way back up to 62.04 and held. So I'm just watching that higher area there. Might not be able to get in at the highest area, but I'm looking for a pattern to trade now. Just a simple 4-hour break of trend to the downside, 79% retracement would be great. Okay. I know at the moment it's looking a little bit aggressive to the downside, but things can soon change when the news comes out later on. All right. All right. May have missed the boat already. Might have to just try to structure something else. Look for the next rally. Maybe that is an intraday rally here with failure at 61 day resistance. And it's not going to go any higher. I had a fib drawn from that high to low yesterday. And I did see this come up here. But I was trying to get up here. Maybe I was being a bit too greedy. And I didn't want to engage here at the time because we had some US news coming out later in the day. So I was waiting for the US news to come out to see whether it could push up to this 62 level. And we never quite got there. I think the news was in here. And I think we were here when I went to bed. So I was hoping maybe we'd push up and I'd wake up in the morning in my fill. But then it never got filled. So I'll have to wait and see what the market will bring. So as I was saying, I'm going to wait for this 4-hour structure to turn to downside in terms of breaking the low, look to sell a rally at the moment. Anybody got short that pair already? All right, let's move on to dollar CAD. Now, dollar CAD, we talked about this level. This is my weekly chart. Weekly support here. So the inverse of the pairs to the US dollar, this pair, the dollar Canadian, is telling you that we're on support, and some of the other pairs are telling you that we're at resistance. So looks like, yes, we've had a US dollar sell-off to support, weekly support here. And we may only move back up to daily resistance, which is here. Now on the 4-hour chart, I'm not seeing this structure on the dollar yen when I was discussing it before, that we got a nice higher top now, but we have a higher top here now. So we've had some consolidation here, a little bit of a minor inverse head and shoulder pattern here. But now that we've popped up to a higher bottom, it'd be nice if we could draw a fib up to the highest point wherever it comes in and see 79% retracement. And your first target would be up here at daily resistance. And then can that level break? All right, so it looks like it's putting in a base here on the 4-hour chart. Gradually been grinding its way. Finding support down there at last week's low and the weekly support level. And we do have, I'm going to go back to the news. So Slav, you can have a look at the news while I'm going through it. We've got the US news coming out tonight. I was thinking we had some Canadian news coming out, but was it last night? Yeah, it was last night. So it was last night, the Canadian news. So I was thinking that was coming out tonight. So that was last night, the Canadian news. Tonight, let's just drag it up here. We've got the US fully fed manufacturing coming out tonight, Slav. All right. So I just wanted to double check the Canadian news because I knew there was some Canadian news, but that was obviously last night. So we don't have to worry about the Canadian news tonight. Of course, there's a little bit of US dollar news coming out, but you might see over the next 24 hours this kind of structure forming, pulling back, putting in a higher bottom to the support level for a move up. All right, that's the structure that's forming. All right. Looks like we sold down to weekly supports. We have some imbalances here that need to be filled. So if you can get long on a good setup, then there's an imbalance there that needs to get filled. So filling that imbalance will be back to daily resistance. There is another imbalance over here. All right, that needs to be filled. So there are some areas on the chart there that need to get filled potentially. Looks like we're putting in a bottom here, maybe. So can it give you like a 79% retracement pattern to trade to move up to fill those points? All right, so if you like the dollar CAD, that's what I'm seeing there at the moment. Harash is saying 5 a.m. there is new CPI of euro at 5 a.m. on my FX book calendar. Please, if you can check if that's important. I'm not seeing it on my calendar. I'm not seeing any euro news. So I don't know. Annie is saying, yeah, euro event is on now. Well, I always use the Forex. Let me just refresh this. I always use the Forex Factory one for the news. And really, if it's not on my Forex Factory calendar, I don't worry. So you know, at the moment, I'm not seeing any euro news that's of high content. So it's not worrying me. All right. So we've had Empire State Manufacturing Index yesterday. Probably tonight's news is going to be similar. Could be. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't try to second guess the news. I just wait for the news to come out and then we'll see. But yeah, it could be very similar. Haresh, as far as I can tell, the euro news that you're talking about isn't a high impacting one because it's not on my calendar. So I've already refreshed it. It's not coming up. So I don't know what more I can say about that news item. All right, back to my charts. I haven't gone through gold yet. Just covered the Canadian. All right, so nothing much has changed on gold since we last looked at it. And Annie's telling me that the news item that you're talking about, Harash, is a very low impact news item. So as I say, if it's not my Forex Factory news with a red square next to it, I don't worry about it. I only worry about the red items. There's a whole bunch of news items that come out through the day that are very low grade. So, all right, let's go through gold. And Slavia is saying yes, some points that you made about the S&P 500. I'll move back to those in a moment. All right, so gold to the weekly charts. We're up against weekly resistance here. And on this range that I've got drawn in, we're sitting at the 79% retracement level. So if you're a gold buff, you need to decide, is this the rally point for the next move down? All right, nothing's much changed over the last few days. We rallied all the way back up over the last week and a bit. And we're holding at weekly resistance with a 79% level at the moment. Are we simply moving back down the range now? The first barrier to the movement down will be this level of support here at 1729. And yeah, your 4-hour structure is just turning down now. So look to sell a rally on your 4-hour structure. Draw a fib across your 4-hour range. Look to sell a 62 or 79% rally to get yourself short. With the 4-hour structure now, looking to show failure at those high levels. All right, so that kind of structure that I'm seeing there, that's the kind of structure that I'd like to start to see on the pairs to the US dollar. All right. Like on the New Zealand dollar I was just showing before. We don't have that structure yet, but we're definitely seeing it on gold. Price is starting to break down on the 4-hour. So look to draw your fib in, look to sell a rally, 62.79% level. S&P 500. Let me just go back to what you were talking about, Slav. All right, I had a lot of things coming in the chat when I was doing my analysis, so I may have missed a few things. So Slav is saying if the S&P 500 moves below current support levels at around 39.55.41. All right, so what you're saying is if we move below 39.55, all right, so you're looking at 4-hour support here. So you're saying if we move below this 4-hour support, then the US dollar might not come back to the desired sell levels. All right, well, yes, if this moves down today, definitely on the pairs like the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar, where I'd much prefer to be able to sell, a higher rally. Of course, if this moves down through these levels convincingly today, let's say we have, for whatever reason, we have a really nice day down and we feel this whole imbalance, then potentially then the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar will sell down, and maybe they've already topped out. So, they might not give those high levels that you can sell at. I'll probably concur with what you're saying. All right, but we'll just have to wait and see what breaks down. All right, but yes, if these levels of support break down and we move back below this area here, which is last month's high, then on some of those pairs we may not be coming back up, might not offer a high rally sell, so we'll just have to look to structure something else. But we'll just wait and see. I mean, this could hold here, move higher. We'll just wait and see. My early commentary before was we have filled this imbalance here, and we've got, we obviously have this imbalance here on the day chart. The daily one's a little bit smaller. The daily chart imbalance is here. So there's an imbalance to fill there, but we would need to obviously not be able to move below that level of support. So the day chart here, we've had a 62% rally up to the monthly 62% range, just there. But we could just have a pullback to here and then simply continue up. All right, so if we close below this level, then there's a bigger chance we're moving back down the range. All right, so I would suggest 39.16 is support there at the moment. If we clearly break back below 39.16, then I'm sure pairs to the US dollar are moving down, and they may well not get back up to offer such a higher level to sell at. Slightly saying I've heard saying that gold sees around the corner. I'm not quite sure what you mean by gold sees around the corner. Best viewed on the 1 hour time frame. Let's drop to the 1 hour chart. Well, there's a 1 hour chart, but I wasn't sure what your first comment. I hear saying that gold sees around the corner. All right, so gold leads the price of other pairs indices. Well, certainly from a 4 hour structure, this is broken down. Whereas, for example, on the Aussie dollar, not quite sure if the Aussie dollar 4 hour chart has structurally broken down yet. Well, it has broken down too. Yeah, it's broken down as well. So not sure which one broke down first. Maybe gold broke down first. So you're saying that gold leads the direction of those. I don't know personally. I think that they're quite highly correlated. I'm not sure whether one leads or the other. Sometimes what I do see is that, let's say we're been moving up for the pairs to the US dollar. Often the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar will turn before, say, the euro dollar and the pound dollar. I often kind of see that they kind of turn. But of course, Aussie is highly correlated to the gold. So we are seeing a bit of a breakdown, yes, at the moment. All right, people, any more questions before we conclude? So we obviously got the US news coming out a little bit later. So it is looking like maybe we're getting a little bit of a topping out phase on some of these pairs. Just want to look at what the euro dollar is doing. All right, so the euro dollar, it is at the moment starting to shift below 103.68. So maybe we are topping out at 104.100. Maybe we are going to false break this resistance level. Yes, of course, we moved above it. We had a nice rejection candle. Maybe we're going to find ourselves by the end of the week back below 103.40, and then I'll be moving down next week. Pound hasn't done much since I last spoke. It's at that 79% retracement of that 4-hour range. So that's holding itself up a little bit stronger at the moment. What's that pound yen doing? All right, for those that may have been interested in the pound yen, we've kind of come down to day support. So if you didn't already get in for your short, you probably have missed the opportunity to get short. We were looking at a trend line somewhere through there. So if you were engaging on that pair, shorting down from weekly resistance failure, trade should be at break even, I would feel, because you're back down to central pivot point, which can be support and day support here. If this doesn't want to move down through here with some conviction now, it's probably going to come back up to your entry level. So if you're in that pair, you need to work out how you want to manage that. It just looks like to me over the last 12 hours, it's at resistance, weekly resistance coming in, day support coming in, weekly resistance coming in. Can day support break or not? Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for being with me this week in the webinars once more. Today will be more analysis. Next, where are we? Where's the dates? For 17th today. All right. Next Tuesday will be the 22nd. So that's analysis. Next. Let me just refresh my. Just getting confused about the dates. There's the 17th today. All right, so that's today. So next Tuesday is the 22nd. So that's live market analysis. 23rd, I'm going to be taking you through pivot points and a simple intraday setup. And then next Thursday will be live market analysis. Okay, so that's what's coming up over the next week. So if you want to join me, just simply come over and register. All right, everybody, thanks very much for attending with me this week. Are we topping out with the US dollar there? Well, rather, are these pairs to the US dollar topping out? Has the US dollar finished its sell-off? And are we actually, it's all that happened. Have we rallied up on those those pairs to the US dollar just to put in a further lower top on the monthly chart long term? All right, it'll be interesting to see what next week brings. Hopefully, maybe we get a nice sell-off next week and a bit of a rally that we can, get on board and sell at top of a rally somewhere. Harash, give me until 1st of December, so you're going for Christmas vacation back in January next year. The calendar at the moment runs out to the 22nd. So I've got webinars all the way up to the 22nd. Then I'll probably have a week off and we'll be back in the new year. All right. So if you go to the website and show more, you'll see that there's a whole run of webinars all the way up to the 22nd. And then the week in between Christmas is usually very quiet in the market. So we'll probably won't do anything then. And then we'll be probably back in the first week of the new year. All right. Thanks very much, Harash. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you next week.